I've just like always been for activist mind myself, very much like outside the box myself. And being very aware of the status of immigration right now, for me to be able to support you, like the immigration lawyers, to hopefully not burn out. Because I mean, at the conference, there was talk of people saying, like, can I stay in this profession? It's horrible,
Yeah.
what you guys are dealing with. So what can I do to support you and even your staff so that people don't get burned out, so that we get through this time of crumbling change.
Everyone, this is Ruby Powers with Power Up Your Practice, and I'm excited to have Tekla Ayers on today's episode. We have known each other for quite a while, and today we're going to be talking about Reiki and so much more. But welcome to the show, Tekla. So glad to have you.
Thank you. I'm glad to finally be here.
Yeah. So you are a Reiki practitioner and teacher and the founder of Be Rooted Healing Arts, focusing on the intersection of energy work and high stakes advocacy. And you've definitely brought a unique perspective because you were a science educator for 10 years before transitioning to energetic healing. When we were swimming in the Gulf Coast or wherever that was. No, that wasn't the Gulf. I don't know. That wasn't the Gulf Coast. It was off of Mexico. And you were like chasing a turtle. And that's when I remembered, oh yeah, she was a science teacher.
Yes. Totally.
Anyway, and I just love how it all comes full circle. And this deep methodology integrates the mind-body awareness through practices, language, and living connected to cycles of moon and earth, and bringing 5-element acupuncture philosophy to the mix. So I guess like there's some people who will be listening and maybe they didn't click listen because they were like, I'm not going to listen to that. But then there's going to be other people who are like curious, like, what are we even talking about? So why don't you get us started and then we can go from there. Like, what is Reiki? Like, how did you tell us more about how you see the benefits? And then we can further discuss how this can apply to lawyers and those working in very difficult space with our clients, and all the stories that we hear and all the trauma and all the just so much energy that goes through our consults and through our lives and the casework that we do.
Yeah, thank you. So I am a Reiki practitioner and teacher, and I really look at the body and as it's all energy. The mind, body, spirit is all connected. But I didn't always look at life that way. I was a science teacher. I was then in the nonprofit world teaching environmental education, and really I got burned out. I was very type A, very codependent, really like working all the time and getting migraines all the time, and just like super stressed, trying to control every little aspect of my life. And I went to a weekend class called Redefining Health at the Thai Sophia Institute, which was an acupuncture school in Maryland. I lived in Baltimore then. And that weekend, like fully like clicked a big light bulb in my head. And it was looking at how our bodies and how our lives are connected to the cycles of the earth, in 5-element Chinese medicine and acupuncture. And I started my graduate school program just a couple months after that, and it was called Applied Healing Arts. And then they also changed it to, oh my gosh, what was it called? Applied Healing Arts, or I can't remember the name right now. Maybe we can add that in later, or it doesn't matter. So in that program, I just really started learning about energy. I started going to acupuncture and really learning about like how energetic my body is, and how getting acupuncture, which is another energetic healing modality, could heal. Like it healed my chronic sinus infections, a lot of like anxiety and things like that. Like, so not only physical, but emotional issues. And through that program, I did a lot of yoga and started a yoga teacher training and that included Reiki. And I didn't know much about Reiki, but I knew that I wanted to learn an energy healing modality. So I took it and it just like blew me away. And it was very similar in the sense that it supports the body to release energy that might be holding or doesn't serve, and also helps the body to like the whole body, mind, spirit to release what doesn't serve and to connect to like your truest energy and your truest self. Very simply put. It's a Japanese tradition and healing modality that is originally a self-care practice. Its roots are in Buddhism, but it's not Buddhism, but it's influenced a lot by Buddhism. So very much around compassion, self-compassion, and compassion for others, and a very passive, relaxing, surrendering practice that can release energy. And I look at energy in many different ways, which I think that I learned at the conference that some people don't think of like feelings and emotions as energy, but I even think of like feelings and emotions as energy. Like if you're in a stressful situation and you feel like you're feeling someone else's emotions, a lot of times you're like taking on their energy. So it can be like that you're feeling tired or feeling sad. And it's actually can be an energetic exchange. So I also really tune into somatic work as far as being really aware of your own body and energy in your body. Before I even teach Reiki, we really take a lot of time to focus on that, like the mind body awareness. So yeah, I don't know what I feel like I kind of talked about how I got into it.
Well, I was just thinking like you have a very calming presence. And so we were getting to how we met was because when I was working on my first book, somebody recommended you for Reiki. And I was like, what is this Reiki thing? I've heard of it. Sounds interesting. What is it? And I reached out to you and we were able to do it a long distance over the phone. And I kid you not, the first time I ever did it, I felt like I had just had a full body massage. I was so relaxed, so calm. And I was like, how did that happen? Like, what just happened? Like, I don't, I get that. I don't get that. And so I was doing research for my book in the self-care wellness chapter, which I was very proud of myself for even having a chapter in a law practice management book about that. And then we stayed in touch. And then I remember when the pandemic happened, I was like, holy moly. Like, and I remember reaching out to you. It was like, it had been a little while and I wasn't like on maintenance or anything like, but I had a treatment and it just really helped me stay calm and grounded with all of the uncertainty during I think a lot of us can remember if we go back to the Wayback Machine of like that March, April, May, June 2020, when we weren't really sure what was going to happen with our lives, our businesses, health, everything. And then depending on what your area of practice is, a lot of people know that my practice area is immigration. When I was working on my second book, The Power Up Your Practice, I was reconnecting with you. I was already I don't remember when I reconnected with you, but I think it was getting ready for the second book. And then I was like, you know what, I need to do this more regularly. And then afterwards you were like, Ruby, you should just take a course. And I was like, I don't have time for that. And then you're like, no, I think you should make time for that. And then I signed up for this almost like a year-long course. And honestly, the weekly check-ins. So I'm probably very guilty of what a typical attorney might be like, always on the go, coffee, trying to do two things at the same time and whatever. And that whole sitting and feeling like how how do my feet feel? How does my back feel? Do I have tension in my body? Like, I don't do stuff like that, and so like, but when you're forced to do that and you're forced to make that mind body connection, then you become more aware of like, whoa, maybe I'm holding some anxiety here or some resentment here or some anger there. And I've always, believed in that, that the whole concept of like the body keeps score, like those unresolved issues manifest somehow in our bodies. And so I think this helps sort of work through those things so that bigger things don't manifest in a negative way. And so you can stay in touch with your true feelings and your thoughts and and I think you said something at the Ayla, Texas fall conference that we were speaking at, and I'm so glad you attended in Mexico, and you were there to help do Reiki to people who had never ever tried it. But you were mentioning that Reiki is like, what you call it, like energy maintenance, or what was the terminology you used? I really think that helps for the person who doesn't energy hygiene, or what was
Oh,
the
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, energy hygiene. Yeah, I mean, I feel like for people who are very busy and on the go and like how we would do um, distance Reiki sessions, it's really like a beautiful space that it kind of makes you because you have the appointment, like to you
That's
literally
true.
like lay down and we meditate together and you just rest and surrender and I tune into your energy and hold space with Reiki. And it's like to clear out, like so many times, especially working with people who are like experiencing trauma and are in a lot of fear, which I'm sure is just like escalated right now. That if you do hold that energy, or a lot of times it can be held in your heart or your belly. And when you relax and the Reiki energy is holding space, it helps to like clear out. So it is like this like hygiene, like clearing out other energy that's not yours, so that you can. And it also is like a refill and a reconnection to your truth and your center. And yeah, it's just powerful. And then, I mean, old things come up too, like old grief can come up. Like people will say, oh my gosh, my heart feels lighter, or I don't feel this like pressure in my heart space. And a lot of times, because it's been holding there. You've been holding like anger or grief or old stuff. So it also can and does help to heal um, past issues, either in your lifetime or even generational issues.
This episode is sponsored by Candle AI, the legal email assistant that helps legal teams spend less time on client emails. You heard me right, spending less time on emails. Candle AI works with both Gmail and Outlook, so you don't have to learn a new tool. And then it connects with popular case management systems like Clio, Filevine, INSSoom, and more to come. It instantly shows you your case and the client details the moment you open a client email, and right inside your inbox. Then that means less context switching and time spent jumping to different tabs to figure out what you need to respond. Candle can also draft context-aware responses to client emails and makes it easy to create, edit, and manage your email templates. If you want to save time and take back control of your inbox, check out Candle AI. I highly suggest it.
So you were mentioning that the grief and how the unprocessed grief or maybe anger could be a hidden driver of illness. And how exactly does Reiki help release that?
Yeah, it's the whole concept that our body is everything's connected energetically, and Reiki supports you to be able to be in a relaxed state to release the holding. And this energy of Reiki just supports your body to release. So if you think that if your body's functioning well energetically, then more you can be more healthy. I think that go ahead.
Well, I actually that all of this is reminding me, the other aspect of why I reached out to you again was because I was doing so much asylum work and a lot of trauma work with like Violence Against Women Act or victims of crime, and as an immigration space. And I remember one mentor telling me many years ago, like that I said, I'm doing this many consults a day and working on these types of cases. And she's like, Ruby, I only do so few, like because of the impact it has on. And I was just thinking, like, how can we use our skills to be good at this work if we're doing this type of work, like personal injury, family law, immigration, criminal defense, whatever it is, can be very more high emotion, high stakes, high trauma, but not get burnt out.
Right.
Like even your story about getting burnt out. And like, I've
Mhm.
heard that a lot about attorneys getting burnt out. And I remember when I was a younger lawyer, like, am I going to get burnt out at 10 years is like a 10-year, and I
Right.
remember with my law students talking about that too, but I
Yeah.
really think it's all about the maintenance and taking care of yourself and figuring out these types of ways. And so what I've noticed about myself is that I am very empathic, which helps me be good at rainmaking. So it's like pro for
Mhm.
business, but it's bad.
Mhm.
It's good for making connection with clients, but it's bad because and that's why I was coming to you and wanting to learn
Yeah.
more about this too, was when I couldn't protect my energy.
Mhm.
And if I, let other people's energy sort of take over and mine and not release it. And I think where we're such big, we're helpers. And so it's hard to sort of separate ourselves from our client's problem and our own self. And then, that vicarious trauma, all of the like PTSD, all of those types of things. And so really what I was leaning towards this practice was really to figure out how can I uh, lean into all of my expertise of having done all this work for so many years,
Mhm.
and not get burnt out and still be able to help the people that need the most help. Because if us practitioners are going to get burnt out, then we're going to have to bring in a whole nother crew of people, and they're going to have the learning curve, and then they're going to try to do this work. And then if they get burnt out, it's just like all of the like first responders and all of
Yeah.
those types of professions, like how do they stay balanced? And and a lot of people go to, like, I don't know, alcohol or drugs or
Mhm.
addiction or crazy extremes,
Right.
but that's not sustainable and usually leads to
That
illness and
just
death.
that just escapes it all. That's just
Right,
the escape,
exactly.
the numbing, yeah.
Right.
Well, if I can use, like, my memory of, like, observing you through the work and through the learning the tools, like, I mean, I can remember when we were first working together, how you would, like, really feel so sad after talking to some of your clients who were like women who had experienced horrible things, and like you would start crying and like really feel their sadness. And then
Yeah.
as you learned about grounding and holding your own energy and being able to like protect yourself, really to hold your own energy, like that totally shifted where you would like not feel as drained and not feel as tired because you were practicing these tools and learning them, and they're really simple. And even like, the one judge who's so hard to be in his courtroom, and how you were just like go in with like your protection and your energy, and you wouldn't feel as like drained or like
Mhm.
upset from it. So I think when we start to really be aware of like energy and our energy first, and like how to ground and visualizing roots or a grounding cord into the earth, that and then that you can like not take it on so much, and that as an empath, it is a superpower, and that you can like read the room and you can know what people need, but you can still do that with this like with this porous barrier of like, okay, that's your energy, this is mine. um,
Yeah.
and I've seen you shift so much over the years through these tools and the practice of Reiki, for sure.
Well, thank you. I really appreciate that. And I think that's the reason why I wanted to get you on my podcast and have you come speak at the conference and just let other people know about this practice, because I think maybe the first reaction is like, what is that? And the other reaction might be, what? And
Yeah,
like, is that real? And then
right.
you sort of have to try it
experience
and
it. I know.
experience it, and then you're like, whoa, okay, and show
That's
me
why,
more, tell me
yeah,
more.
it
Yeah.
was such a gift to be able to come to the conference and meet people in person and to have these 20 to 40-minute Reiki sessions with people who are like curious and open to it, and how much they've noticed, like how much they relaxed right away, how much they might have noticed like pressure in their heart, or their, tension in their tummies released. Even like some tears were shed. I mean, even just in one session. So it really is just like such a beautiful practice and way to de-stress, really, if you're going to use the word stress, to
Mhm.
kind of release the stress that you might be holding from your work, or even from just like living in this world in this moment of time.
No, for sure. And I think it's because we're the caregivers, we're like guardians of the law, and we have all these rules we're supposed to uphold, and there's a lot of responsibility. And I think we're sort of taught too much in this profession is like go, go, go.
Mhm,
And I saw you mentioned about like having a sacred pause or
mhm.
monitoring our energetic boundaries. What are some tips or some, I don't know, what we could leave with some of the listeners to like maybe go explore or think about how they can, sort of change the way they do things?
Yeah, I mean, so I've shared with you, and we've thrown this idea around a little bit in my Be Rooted program that you took, that is an 8-month program, learning Reiki in community. The power of like being in community with other people and taking a pause. So we would meet every Wednesday night for an hour. And I feel like I know that taking intentional pauses, to breathe and to ground and to rest is so powerful in community. So as far as like your profession of an immigration lawyer, like you all are like in the same crazy field right now of like of
Yeah.
such chaos, and to like have a time, even I mean, I suggest to people like set a timer on your phone and just like even like 3 deep breaths, like taking 3 deep breaths, or like going to the bathroom. I feel like it's like when you're with your toddler at home and you're like, okay, I just need like 3 deep breaths in the bathroom.
Yeah.
How profound that is, or like 1 minute, and to like incorporate that with your whole firm, like that everyone has a pause. Like, I don't know, I imagine like taking like a 15-minute pause here and there. I know it sounds impossible for
Yeah.
how your profession runs, like everything's in emergency mode, but
Well, for me, I go water my plants at in the office,
oh
and that brings me happiness.
yes, and that's a pause, right? Yeah.
Yeah, it is. It's a pot. I'm not usually on the phone. I'm usually like getting a little dirty with carrying around water, getting the
Yeah.
hose out, and I'm checking on my plants. But like I mean, their garden is there for, it's like my sanity garden, basically. It's like
Nice.
I go out,
That's
and
beautiful.
my law firm orchard. I've also said that somewhere.
I love it. Yeah, and I mean, I'm a big fan of like oracle cards and decks, and like some people use tarot, and like if you have like a cool oracle deck, like to just take a pause when and shuffle a deck, pull a card, and like read it. And a lot of times that can like shift your energy and perspective, and it also gives you that time to just like pause and read something that's not work related, or like a book that you can just open up and read a page that has like something like thoughtful mindfulness.
Yeah, I have these like inspirational quotes in this calendar. It's like from
Yeah,
2 years ago, but I still kept it on the
right.
side
Yeah,
because
like
everything
that.
is like such really inspirational. Or you could have maybe some, Bible quotes or whatever it is, just
Yeah,
like I'm getting really into candles right now because they're giving me joy. I'm like, and I'm just doing whatever. And if it just helps calm me down or listen to something relaxing on maybe YouTube while I'm working or
yeah,
something, sort of, I've heard also like even just a smell, um, can sort of trigger a memory and sort of take you to a different place in a way, and sort of make you sort of disconnect from the stress and sort of connect more with yourself. And
Mhm.
so I think a lot of these things are really, I've been leaning more into them this
Yeah.
last year. And, talking about grief, I realized now, like while we've been talking, like the 8 months that I took your course, my dad died.
Right.
And that was a lot of
Yeah.
emotion to go through. And, I think a lot of people in our age range or so, we're dealing with like the sandwich generation where we've got,
Yeah.
parents, and then we've got raising children or caregiving or whatever. And
Yeah.
there's just like a lot of giving to other people and maybe not having time for ourselves. And then for me, I'll just be honest, like I was writing my Christmas letter, and I was like, oh, my dad died. And then I went to Colorado, and then I went to the blah, blah, blah. And then I went to DC. And then like, I just kept running. Like
Yeah.
I was again in Colorado for the ALA conference. And like, it wasn't until maybe a couple months later that like I had a moment where I was just like, started really feeling grief a bit more, because I think it was starting to hit me. And that's always dangerous to postpone that. So I think that's why I'm sharing this story, as much as it's, it can seem personal. It is personal. It's
Mhm.
just like when things like this are happening, give yourself that time and space, and don't just run away from your emotions, because it'll manifest in some other, pop up in a different way, and cause probably more health problems that won't allow you to do what you really want to accomplish. And
Yeah.
but I'm grateful for the community that you provided, and the course, because that really helped me as I was going through my father's illness and his passing. So
Yeah.
I
And
appreciate
those,
that.
yes, of course. And I feel like those circles that I hold space for, I've been holding circles for many years now, but based on Parker Palmer's circle of trust, and it is the space where you can come and just share what's on your heart and mind, and everyone just listens. So it's not a place where you have to be fixed or fix anyone else.
Mm,
And especially like in your profession, I think that being like in a space where you can just be like, oh my gosh, this client or this situation just is like on my heart, and just to be able to share it. And I think also when you're practicing the tools of grounding and being aware of your energy, you can hold that space for each other without taking on what other people are saying, because you're in this supportive space. Um, and going back to just like what to do to like help with your energy, um, I am such a huge fan of meditation, and that's really what self Reiki is. It's a meditation practice. And a lot of times people say they can't meditate and they don't know how to meditate. And I say it's a practice. It is a practice, and you can start really small with like 5 minutes at a time. Do guided meditations. When I was at my like most chaotic time of my life and didn't think that I could calm down, I really loved yoga nidra meditations, which are like very deep meditations that bring you into like a yogic sleep. Um, but it is like having the daily practice of of stopping and tuning into your body and breath. And right now we're doing the 21-day restful Reiki renewal, which is a daily 20-minute guided meditation with Reiki, and it's done in community, and we're all just there listening to the teacher. But it is that like 20-minute practice, and we've been doing it for a week now, and every time we do it together, I like feel my energy calm even faster. And like for me, Reiki feels very warm in my hands, and I'll like feel it even warmer when we're doing that in community. So very much around like the power of being in community, in an intentional community that's there to release and share, and also to like be connected to your own body and energy. So yeah, that I think that especially with the grief work, like just witnessing another person's grief can be super healing for them. That just to be seen and to be heard that you are going through something like your father dying or, something
Mhm.
happening. And it doesn't even have to just be death. It can be like the grief of what you're seeing all around you, like the loss of control and any power that we thought we had. And, you know, an illness, a kid going to college, like all of that is grief. And we just kind of plow through it, and our bodies will catch up with us. Like you said, the body keeps a score. So the practice of Reiki can really help with that maintenance of releasing. And I'm all about like the group work and the circle of trust work.
Well, I think we sort of create our own like community, but we don't really think about how much it benefits us. But like even as an immigration attorney, a colleague put together like a weekly call every Monday night, and I think in a way that sort of it took over as my replacement in a way for the Be Rooted weekly call, in a way, because we're sharing what we're dealing with and what we're going, and you feel like a part of a group, and I just see that value because, I miss having the weekly check-ins and things like that. But I think that can also be the value of having like masterclass or, different groups that you just have that hold accountable and people genuinely care. And I think there's a lot of value to that. Like you're mentioning, you sort of watched, you shared with me that you had two close friends who were getting burned out, even though they had tools like Reiki, and sort of like how the impact had on them in terms of culture and leadership in the legal profession. Like what were some of the things you learned from observing them?
Yeah, I have two really good friends who I've been friends with for probably like 15 years. And one was an immigration lawyer, and I just would watch her life and lifestyle and the expectations of the firm she worked for. It was definitely a culture of like grind culture, go, go, go culture. And I'm sure that each firm is different and each firm can create their own culture. But I think like as a whole, generalizing, because you are often in like an emergency situation, that it can be this like nonstop process. So and then my other friend worked for asylum seekers, helping with their housing and getting situated in their communities and stuff. And her job went away with the most recent Trump. But watching her like work all the time, helping all these people. And I mean, it's the systems, right? It's the systems of capitalism and racism and all that we're in. But the whole culture of like just continuing to go, and they both practiced Reiki and received Reiki, and that would help them for sure. But when the whole culture is going like that, it's hard to like be kind of the person outside the box. So as we've talked about, like trying to change the culture around like it's okay to pause and take a break, and to talk about like how hard it can be to hold space for someone else, and maybe talk about tools around energy and self-care. So yeah, I feel really passionate about it because I think because of my two friends, like watching them and then meeting you about 5 or 6 years ago. And I've just like always been like an activist myself, or activist mind myself, very much like outside the box myself, and being very aware of the status of immigration right now. For me to be able to support you, like the immigration lawyers, to hopefully not burn out. Because I mean, at the conference, there was talk of people saying like, can I stay in this profession? It's horrible. It's horrible.
Yeah.
What you guys are dealing with. So what can I do to support you and even your staff, so that people don't get burned out, so that we get through this time of crumbling change that is going to.
Yeah. And I think this can be applicable regardless of the practice area. just because we need to change that culture of grind and burnout, and
Yeah,
like
it's
we
not
need to
just lawyers for it's
right.
our
And we also
world.
need to normalize it's okay to take a break. It's okay. Like, I mean, like smokers, like it was normal to just go have a smoking break, just, every once in a while randomly, like I'm having a watering my plants break,
Yeah,
like,
totally. I'm
and,
gonna go
and
soak up some sunshine for 10
yeah,
minutes and not do
yeah,
anything. Yeah.
yeah, or
Well, I
fill up
mean,
all my
even like
water bottles with
even at
plastic straws.
at the conference, I know everyone was working, but it was like a wellness and business conference. And so when we presented, and I was like, okay, close your computers. You can't be working on
Yeah,
your
it was
computer.
like, what?
It's like,
Oh, I have to
we're
turn
at a
off my
wellness
computer?
conference.
Yeah.
Let's be well to ourselves. That was so
No,
fun. Everyone was so open to it, and we
it
had
was
like,
fun.
sitting on the
I love
floor.
we sit on the floor, taking off our shoes, sharing experiences, talking,
Yeah,
and then it was like before long, people were just having so much fun sharing that like we had to like be like, okay, now we have to go back to talking
right.
about what we're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's so cool when you open those doors to like talk about this stuff. Like more people are in tune with energy and that stuff than we realize. Just it's not so woo. It is
Yeah, no,
quite
I agree
supported
with you.
by science and yeah, the way I mean the telepathy tapes. You were in my class when that came
Oh
out. I
yeah,
was like so
that's
excited about it.
wild.
It's
Yeah.
definitely a podcast to listen to. I actually need to find the one that I know there's a more recent one that specifically talks about energy healing work. So I need to look that up. Um, but that series is just, I mean, it explains how the way science is done can't prove a lot of this, yet there's so much anecdotal evidence. And that's what I go on with my work is so much anecdotal evidence of people healing their physical ailments through Reiki um, and emotional stuff as well, which is all connected.
Well,
I
I
mean,
think what
go ahead.
no, well, I mean, working with you, doing the Reiki treatments, doing the Be Rooted, like it just gave me so much more perspective on sort of like this invisible force, if you will, and just understanding myself better, understanding my clients better, understanding how I could do this energy, I could protect myself with the boundaries and energy and just try to prevent the burnout and be more sustainable in the work that I'm doing. And so I just I'm really grateful, and I know that we should probably have you on the podcast again to some later date and maybe like go deeper in this and like how what resources are out there as well. But we'll definitely
Yeah.
put all your information out there and how they can reach you.
Are you feeling overwhelmed by all the different things you have to do to run a law firm? Well, you're not alone. So many law firm owners are in the same boat. That's where Staffy steps in. More than 90 firms just like yours are leaning on their bilingual virtual staff for legal, administrative, marketing, and client-facing work, plus their full HR support. I currently have 11 team members with Staffy across my own firm and Power Strategy Group, and it's been a total game changer. Schedule a free initial consultation at staffy.cc, that's stafi.cc, and use the code RUBY, R-U-B-Y, for $500 off.
Before we start finishing up, though, I need to ask you a couple of fast questions, our fun fact questions. So what is your favorite board game?
I was giggling about this. I'm not a big board game person.
Okay.
It needs to be fun. I always liked like Pictionary or like charades or something like active.
Oh, those are fun. Okay.
Sing or draw. Yeah. So
I can
active.
see that.
I get bored with board games.
Yeah, that's true. If they like sit down and you can't move around and
I mean,
it
some
takes
people
like
love it, but yeah,
yeah,
my
I get
family's
you.
not great. We're not great at board games.
What would you consider your superpower?
Being a healing presence, like I can just be with someone and they can relax really quickly and release their energy, and I don't take it on. I mean, that's from years of practice, but I think just that like healing presence, and like I bring that into with my one-on-one clients and when I'm teaching, and that can just, yeah, it comes with, I'm probably born with it to some degree, and it really comes from a lot of practice myself and my own daily practices of being a healing presence.
I definitely sense that. I think that is one of your superpowers. I think you have other ones, but I'm going to give you that one.
Thank you.
What would you consider a habit that contributes to your success?
I feel like connecting to being a healing presence, it is meditation and daily meditation and daily self Reiki that helps me to be able to do my work, and being very in tune with even the cycles of the moon and the seasons, and that I really like am aware of when we're in winter and should be slowing down, and when I don't. Like last Monday, I got a horrible headache because I was like doing way too much in the winter. And I think that I stopped and I rested. I had to like cancel my day. But I think being really in tune with the moon and the seasons and listening to my body, it makes me, and the Reiki and self and the meditation helps me to be able to hold the space like I do. And then I also have a lot of community spaces that support me, because I'm all about the community support, and that really gets me through also.
Oh, that's awesome. I think we need to remind ourselves about the importance of community. And I mean, even during the pandemic, we remembered like we needed people, and that was one of the first things we're like, oh, where are the people?
Yeah.
And that's just that's a very human thing, that we need that community.
Yeah.
What would be a favorite book or podcast you'd recommend?
There's so many, but See No Stranger by Valerie Kaur is like a favorite book that I've read and studied since it came out in 2020. She has the Revolutionary Love Compass, which is about how to live so that we can see no stranger, kind of how we can live in a revolutionary love way. This book is an autobiography of her story. She was a lawyer and an advocate, a big oh my gosh, why am I not activist? And her story is around like her burnout actually, and how coming back to like breathing and grieving and being taken care of, and also bringing in joy. It's all part of the Revolutionary Love Compass. But I love this book, and I love reading it with others and teaching the Revolutionary Love Compass to others. It's really beautiful.
I'll have to check that out. And then in our course, we had the Japanese art of Reiki.
Yes.
That's another one. And so that's another one we can mention as well.
The Bronstein. Yeah.
Yeah. And I have the Inner Heart of Reiki as well.
Yes. Those two are great.
Yeah. Well, how can people connect with you, find you, and stay in touch?
My website is berootedhealingarts.com, and I've just joined LinkedIn because that's where everyone at the conference is. All the lawyers are here. I joined, but I'm not very active there. But I'm Tekla C Ayers, TeklaCayers, which is my full name, which is kind of sounds like Tekla Cares, which is kind of fun.
Oh, that's cool. Like you say it fast, I could see it.
Yeah, Tekla Cares. But I am actually not on social media. I guess kind of I am now with LinkedIn, but I haven't been on social media in years now, and I think that that's also part of my self-care, is that I'm not there. I think it's really become toxic, and but I do have like a newsletter that you can sign up for on my website, and all my how to connect with me is there.
Okay, awesome.
berootedhealingarts.com. Yeah.
And you're always running courses, or you can do distance Reiki, and you've got a lot of different resources for people. And I think we sort of been trying to bridge a gap between what you do and attorneys, and trying to help those who are sort of like they're doing so much work in this space, and just help support them.
Yeah, what I love to do first is just like a free phone call, and that's on my website, just to talk. And then we can do like a distance Reiki session if you're not in Colorado where I am. And yeah, I think just talking and trying it is a great way to start. And like I also dream of like more retreats and conferences too, because of all of the things I have to offer. And I think that that's a great way to do a lot of good healing work also. So
Yeah, I agree. And we're with Power Strategy Group, we're planning to do some more of those as well. And we're working on seeing what we can do to collaborate and
yes.
just have more resources out there for attorneys and their team, and just continue to work to do the hard work that we do and not get burnt
Mhm.
out, and take care of ourselves. Well,
Yeah.
Tekla, I'm so glad I met you. I was thinking about digging through my email one day to figure out how I found you,
I
but
know, right? I'm
we
like,
still
it
don't
must be
remember.
through somehow through my friend who was in your field. I'm like, somehow that must have happened. I don't know.
Must have somehow,
Um,
but
oh, but I
I've
just
learned a
want to,
lot.
can I say
Yeah,
one thing too? Like one thing that
of course.
I'm really dreaming into is having like a course where a shorter course than my Be Rooted program, where you learn the self-care grounding tools and Reiki 1, which is self Reiki. So really focusing on the self-care part of Reiki and offering that as a shorter course. I might be doing that locally this spring, but I can do that distance also. And I think that that would be super beneficial for people in your field, and I mean really any field, but really focusing on the like self-care and learning about energetic tools and boundaries and stuff. So hope that that is like to come too. So not just the big program, but shorter chunks. So
Yeah, I think that would be well received, because even, with me, like I was like, there's no way I could pull this off,
yeah,
weekly meetings, 8 months,
yeah,
4 in-person weekends. But we made it work. And
yeah,
before I knew it, it was over. And I was like, what just happened? And I'm
yeah,
so grateful, because I don't think I could have it was a very tough year, and
yeah.
there was so much happened, especially in the change in administration, my losing my father, a lot going on. And I'm really glad I had the support and a lot of those just sort of better self-care and grounding tools to help me, be my best self, as a mother, an attorney, a business owner, a boss, an advocate. And, we wear all these different hats, and then we forget to take care of ourselves. And sometimes it's just these small little acts, like that pause, or,
Mhm.
just like truly taking a lunch break,
Right.
or putting down the phone and the laptop when you leave work, and
Yeah.
not picking it up until you go back to work.
Yeah.
But that would be great to do.
Well, and so many times that comes from like the internalized expectations we have from our families and from culture.
Mm,
And so a lot of times those internalized expectations like drive us. And so through working with Reiki, it can help to release those stories also, so that you don't feel that like pressure to perform or to work all the time. And so we kind of can dive into that also with the Reiki work. So it's kind of, it's cool how it's all connected in that way.
it definitely is all connected. And I think in general, the people who lend themselves to being lawyers and working in this space, I think we sort of have certain characteristics are similar. And then
Yeah,
entrepreneurs, those who are running their own firms or having firms, and in
right.
that space too. So, well, I know we could probably continue talking forever, but
Yeah, had to wrap.
we can't at the moment. We'll have to wrap this one up. But
Thank you,
I'm
Ruby.
yeah, thanks, Tekla, for coming on and sort of sharing a little bit more about what the Reiki is. And just, I'm glad that we could also share from like my perspective as a practitioner, like how I went from curious to to sold and using it, and how you could see the shift in me and how it's helped me stay the course and, you know, be a part of more of this marathon that I have in practicing at law. So, and running a law firm and stuff like that.
And all the things you do.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, amazing.
Well, thanks, Tekla. And thanks
you.
everybody who's been
Thank you
listening.
so
And
much.
you should definitely check out Tekla's website. We've got the show notes. We'll put all of her information, like she mentioned, the berootedhealingarts.com, and she's on LinkedIn and Instagram. And thanks, everyone. And we'll see you next time.
Thank you for tuning in to Power Up Your Practice. I'm Ruby Powers, and it's been a pleasure sharing this time with you. We love your reviews, so if you enjoyed today's episode, please leave us one and share this podcast with someone else so that they can know what you've been learning on our show. And make sure to check out the Power Up Your Practice book. It's available in paperback and Kindle on Amazon. It's packed with 25 chapters of strategies to grow and streamline your firm. And we also have the free Power Hub community on School to keep the conversation going in between the episodes. So make sure to keep powering up your practice, and we'll see you next time.